It's crazy to think, but I've flown around the world. It's really surreal to say those words, but it's true. Today, I'm going to share this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity with you all. From insights to incredible moments to inspiration, this video will provide many thoughts encompassing what this experience is like. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into this, everybody. 32,000 miles, 23 flights, and 70 flight hours later, ladies and gentlemen, I've went around the entire world. This is just so incredible to think about right now. I literally just got back from going over 32,000 miles and flying across the world in the span of 2 weeks. This is just such an incredible opportunity that I could not be more fortunate to get to share with all of you today. And man, I just don't even know where to begin with this. So what an incredible time. I hope all of you are doing fantastic today. This is just so surreal to get to sit here and talk with you all after literally going around our entire earth once. And there's just so much to highlight in today's video, so much to shout out, and just can't give a huge enough thanks to everybody that made this a reality. And it's just an absolutely incredible opportunity, and man, what a game changer, just an eye-opening experience. So once again, 32,000 miles, 23 flights, and 70 flight hours got us here. Incredible to think that all of that can be done in within 2 weeks, and just the amount of planning and details that go into this, and just preparation. It's just truly incredible to think about it all. And today I'm going to be very fortunate to share this entire experience with all of you. So I really hope each and every one of you are excited for this. We have so much to talk about today, so we're just going to go ahead and dive into it. But first, we got to check out this clip.
I do these little trips where I fly around just for fun, okay?
Okay, we're just kidding with that, of course, but nevertheless, let's just go ahead and get into the full trip here. Just an incredible opportunity once again, and I am super excited to share this with you all, excuse me. So let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to Tulsa International Airport. This will be the beginning and the end point. As all of you know, this is my home airport, so of course it has to be here. Let's just go ahead and get started with the first flight. So our first flight here is going to be on a United Express ERJ-175, as we'll be flying from Tulsa to Denver International Airport. Very good flight, pretty standard routine to get this started, but obviously just the vibe and complete atmosphere was just so much different, knowing that this flight would be the beginning as I start going west all the way around the world. And this introduces the thought of what we're doing here and why we're going around the world now. So let me go ahead and explain that to all of you. So if you don't know, I am going to be starting an internship actually this month here on Monday, which is crazy to think that it's already happening as I get into my aviation career. With that being said, and all the implications that come with that, there's only going to be so much more opportunity to go on big trips and do these little trips where we fly around just for fun. So with all that being said, when the opportunity arose to literally go all out and do it all right now and go all the way around the world, how would I be able to pass up on that? And this is just, once again, an opportunity that you can't say no to if it arises. Obviously, the finances and the time investment definitely, is noticeable, but when we're not going to have any time besides the weekends going forward, it's just, if you're going to go all out, you got to go all out. And that's exactly what we did right here. So that takes us on to our United ERJ-175, which is taking us on to Denver today. So really cool to get this trip started. Of course, got to do it west, and the places that we chose to visit will be discussed through today's video. But it is just super cool to think about, this being the root and the origin of where all this started. But overall, it was a great flight, nice and simple. But we'll really start to get into all the really cool pieces of the puzzle as we start to go forward here. And we had a layover at Denver. Once again, absolutely fantastic. It's a great airport and a great opportunity to kick it off. To our United Airlines Boeing 737-900, which would take us on to Phoenix. And yet again, another great flight. United's an awesome airline, and it was great to get to utilize them here with the U.S. domestic flights. A wonderful time. Really enjoyed it. Nice and simple, and really just got that momentum rolling, and the vibe just started to really kick in the gear, which it was really cool to get to think about it in these ways and overall get to see it all. And there was some fun moments throughout as well, some great cruising views too. So definitely really cool to get to see it all here. And once again, it was just an absolutely stupendous time, and I very much enjoyed it. And I watched the sunset go down in Phoenix, and I was like, man, this is really going to start to get real once we get started here in Phoenix. And that's exactly kind of how it rolled into, after the holiday season and spending time with family, it really was tough to feel real since I've done so many domestic flights. But I knew by the time we get to our next flight here, it's really going to start to get real. And that's exactly what happened. When we took Hawaiian Airlines on their Boeing 787-9, a brand new aircraft to their fleet, from Phoenix Sky Harbor to Honolulu International Airport. And let me say that Hawaiian Airlines has certainly got it down here. It is really cool to think about all the implications and what comes with the new aircraft type for them. So it was really cool. A very interesting change kind of happened up as I scanned my boarding pass to get on this flight. They changed my seat to an economy plus seat, which I believe was like 14F, which is not a window on the 787. So this was kind of an interesting twist and turn, but nevertheless, this was a really great 6-hour flight, and I was able to enjoy all the edge to leg space. Unfortunately, I didn't have the window, but there wasn't too much I could do at that point. They changed it on me, and the flight was sold out, so there really wasn't too much I could do in that department. But overall, it was a really great flight. Hawaiian Airlines did a fantastic job, and this new aircraft type to their fleet really is cool. Now, it's interesting since I've already been to Hawaii, but this flight still very long, and that mindset of just thinking it's like, okay, we're actually going to do it. We're going to go around the world. It was really weird because it's just so different when you've been to a place before, but at the same time, you know that there's more to the story. You're not going to come back east. So it was very interesting, but this is where the time zones really start to become a factor, and I purposely and very intentionally planned to be able to accommodate for all these time zones. We're going to be going west 24 hours, so I literally have went all the way around the world backwards in these time zones. With that said, you obviously have to be very mindful of this, and to maximize your health, your opportunities, and how you feel, you got to be ready for this. So prior to this, I've been staying up late to prepare my body to be able to stay up late, and that's exactly what happened with this flight. So that was the first part of it, and we went back 4 hours to start, and we'll be doing many -4 hours here as we go through. But again, the Hawaiian 787 is a great plane. I'm so excited to make this trip forward in the future. A very great product. Overall, the onboard experience was fantastic. They did a really good job, and the views were great. And I even got to go to the back and get some cool wing views as well during the flight, so that was cool. But nevertheless, that took us into the Honolulu International Airport, a place that I've become very familiar with. It's a really awesome place, and got to see some great planes like the ANA A380's and all the other wide bodies, the Japan 767. All were really cool, and it was just a fantastic day. And so fantastic that I even got to do a helo turn, which is the final airport I haven't scored in Hawaii yet, on a Hawaiian Boeing 717 in the old livery 475 Hotel Alpha. This was really cool. The helo airport is super neat. They have a really fun final, so it was a really great time doing the turn. I really enjoyed it, and anytime you go out there, if you can get a chance to fly one of these mad pups, the Boeing 717, how can you not do so? So I was so glad to get to encompass that as well. It was super fun, and I really enjoyed this amazing opportunity to fly Hawaiian over to the small airport of Hilo. So that was very neat, and no doubt a really cool piece of the puzzle during this adventure. So with that said, that then takes us to this point where it was like, okay, now it's really going to start to get real, because now we're going to go even farther than this. And it was just really surreal to think about all the implications that came with this, right? So not only flying another wide body to get there, but also another time change of 3 hours, and just knowing, and then the really big parts, the date line. So you cross the international date line when you get out there. So that, along with going to the southern hemisphere for the first time. So all this anticipation was all on the roof at once, and it was just so cool to see it all come together, because on December 30th of 2024, I embarked on my first ever flight to the southern hemisphere. And that would take us on to Jetstar with their Boeing 787-8, as we would fly at Jetstar from Honolulu to Sydney, Australia, a place that, I talked about in the Europe video in 2024. I was like, man, London would be a super cool place to go, but I was still locked in on that thought for so long that I never even thought Sydney would be possible. So the thought of getting to Sydney is just surreal, but it happened, and it's real. So Jetstar is an awesome ULCC from Australia. If you don't know, they fly a bunch of narrow body flights, but they do have a couple of heavy flights, this being one of them. And it was really cool to start lining up these strategic flights, right? Because some of the flights on this trip you're going to notice were only on select days of the week. Jetstar only operates Honolulu to Sydney 3 times a week. So being able to plan all the days out and make it work and still work to all the schedules were really cool. So this was really cool to start on the Monday morning, and it was just so weird to think that we'd be going into the future as this flight lands December 31st. So despite all of that, still a really fun time. We got boarded up, had a really nice economy plus seat. The IFE was solid, and we took off and made our flight over. But I was just so impressed by the attitude from the flight attendants and just the overall environment of the plane. It was really nice. This was a $250 ticket, so to be able to get a meal on it and have the bag and all of that to work out, and the seat selection was just so great. So the sun eventually started coming over, and it finally got to the other side of the plane, and just such an amazing experience, right? It was so cool to get to see all that and the implications. So as we started to make our descent into Sydney, it was just so surreal to see the different time of day and know that it was New Year's Eve now, even though we started on the day before that. So all that was just crazy to put in the one piece, and my brain's just overwhelmed at this point just from all the pieces. We're back 7 time zones now, and it really started to get real when I saw a pop-up thunderstorm down there. Now, this isn't uncommon, obviously, as it's currently summer in the southern hemisphere, but just doing this all at once was just so different, and it was so cool. So we descended into the Sydney International Airport. I saw downtown, and I was like, this is going to be a great time, and that's exactly what it was. So obviously Hawaii is somewhat like the United States, right? The mainland, that is, because it's in the United States. But going to another international destination is just so cool, and I'm really glad that I didn't do much research on, you know, the actual culture of some of these places, if that makes sense. Like, I had a brief idea and obviously knew that it was safe and all these places I'm going was good, but I just kind of wanted to see it with my own eyes, you know, just gain a better understanding of what it's like. And, you know, when you hear people say, hey, mate, and, you know, all these different phrases, it's true. And when you get there and show up, they actually do say these phrases and they act this way. And that was so cool. Clearing passport control and getting out there is like, there's still 5 hours of daylight left, because obviously sunset there's at 8:30. And that's one of my huge recommendations that I will talk about later in the video is, if you are going to do a trip like this, definitely try to stay in the opposite hemisphere if you're doing it during the winter months, so your body can acclimate and have that extra daylight to work with. What I mean by that is I was actually able, you know, you would expect to be kind of zonked out after a 10-hour flight, which I was able to do a bunch of laptop work, by the way. It was really great. But you expect to be kind of wore out and just want to go rest. But thanks to that daylight and the adrenaline to go with it, I was ready to go spot. So that's exactly what I did. I made my way to the beach location at the Sydney International Airport. And man, the photography opportunities at this place is just absolutely incredible. Sydney is one of the coolest airports out there for photography, but the airline variety is really cool as well, right? So not only do you get a bunch of the typical narrow bodies from Qantas, Jetstar, and Virgin Australia, but you also get some really cool internationals to go with it, like the Qatar A380, Emirates A380, and just a laundry list of awesome planes that you get to see. And it was so cool to just get out there and see it all. It was so much fun, and I just had a great time getting to check out all these planes. But the vibe was incredible, just having these pop-up thunderstorms come up too, and just seeing all of what, you know, it looked like was just so much fun at once. And obviously I've plane spotted before and I've seen international planes, but just anytime you get to not, you know, see what you're not familiar with is quite an amazing experience. And that's exactly what this was. So really enjoyed it. Overall, just a fantastic time. Sydney is an incredible place. Next day, plane spotted the whole day and just saw so many cool airplanes. It's a very extensive list of so many fun planes. I think I took like over 1,000 pictures, which is a bunch. So definitely going to be excited to share those. The P3 parking garage there is so much fun as well. And I was already got a nice little sunburn there, not even trying. I thought I was tan enough still to not get a sunburn, but I did get a sunburn in the morning. So I got my sunscreen on, and just an amazing time, you know, watching all these cool international planes, especially the Asia planes. I've never really seen many of those narrow or wide bodies before. So it's so cool to just see all this at once, and just quite a surreal experience. So an amazing time at Sydney. It is a great place. And that's where the theme of this trip really starts to pick up, right? Obviously, I was able to spend a few days there. But coming up after what I would talk about next, we're just going to have to get moving to the next part of the puzzle, which is going to be, you know, just continuing to move back, because we only have 2 weeks to make it all the way around the entire Earth. So we got to keep it moving. So our next flight here is going to be a day trip inside the big trip. How can you not love day trips? And that's exactly what we're going to do with this Jetstar Airbus A321 to kick it off, over to the Brisbane airport. The Sydney airport is very interesting. They're all really cool airports in Australia, but I'll try to just give some notes. We have so much to cover, so I can only talk about so much in this particular video. But what I do want to say is that Sydney, I wasn't prompted for my boarding pass at all, which was just shocking to me. I didn't get ID'd or asked for my boarding pass. If you have a boarding pass, then obviously you can board the flight, but you can go through security still, which was just so cool. So you don't have to have a visitor pass or any sort of matrix like that. You can just walk right through security. So that's exactly what I did. And theoretically, I could have just stayed there the whole time, which was so cool. But nevertheless, we have more to the story, as we got to get on this Jetstar Airbus A321, and we're going to be making a service today over to Brisbane, which was a super great flight. Jetstar's domestic operation was just as impressive. It was super cool to see the efficiency, plenty of ancillary fees that they're charging for as well, but I had a fare that got me the seat and all that, so I was very happy with what was going on. Got the good power up on the 321, a very pleasant flight. My brain's kind of going cuckoo because I'm still kind of, you know, time zone confused, but that was kind of the theme of this trip too. Is fortunately, I wasn't really fatigued during the whole time. My body was more confused than any part, which I'd much rather have a confused body than be fatigued. And what I mean by that is my appetite was kind of goofy, so I was getting hungry at weird times. And then also just, your brain just kind of sees it a little bit differently when your circadian rhythm is used to daylight being out at XYZ time. So it's kind of just like sleeping in, but just for forever, if that makes sense. And that's the huge benefit of going west if you're going all the way around the world, or really just in general. If you go west, you're going to gain time back, which is so helpful for the body instead of waking up early, so on and so forth. But anyway, we made it to Brisbane, great time. It was raining there, not a huge surprise, but then just started to see this really cool flock of unique aircraft, right? There was some E190s and some Saab 340s, even a Metroliner was there, but then these Fokker airplanes started showing up, and I've seen Fokkers at museums before, never flying around. So that just goes to show how cool aviation is as a whole, and we'll talk about it later in the video. Is aviation's everywhere, and there's different types of aviation, and exactly what you see here is Fokker still being operated halfway across the world from where this channel is based, and that's just so cool to think about. So seeing all these Fokkers was so cool, and from prior research I was like, this day trip could include a Fokker. So that's exactly what I did. I flew an Alliance Fokker 100 with service from Brisbane to Newcastle, and this was a super fun flight for many reasons. The power up was so weird. It was kind of like an MD-80, but at the same time it was kind of a squeal sound, which was very unique, so that was definitely cool to get to encompass. But overall, it was a great time. The seats were comfortable. Virgin Australia did a great job. They're the operator, they're the parent, and then the operator obviously is Alliance Airlines, who's really cool. So very cool, very fun flight. Got to cruise over some clouds again before descending into a smaller city called Newcastle, which is a very cool city. They have a nice variety of flights, but the reason that I chose Newcastle, and this kind of goes with some of the other day trips I've done, I was like, okay, well, an Alliance Fokker 100 is super cool, and I'm really glad to knock out this aircraft type, and it's super unique. But an aircraft that's even more unique, one could argue, I mean, both these aircraft probably the most unique of the trip, so definitely don't want to take away from the Fokker, but a Jetstream 32, which is a little rinky-dink little prop aircraft, I was like, why don't we add this to the lineup? And that's exactly what I did. I had a nice little layover at Newcastle, so I worked on some videos for you all to get all those prepared during my time away. And I found this Jetstream 32 that I was going to fly for New Pelican Airlines. And once again, it's a really goofy aircraft. BAE is the manufacturer of it. And what a cool little aircraft to fly around. And this aircraft took us over to the capital, which I believe is Cabrina, I believe is how you say it. But nevertheless, really fun time. Overall, it was a really great experience. Jetstar, wrong airline. Fly Pelican did a really good job. It's a very cool little flight, kind of like Silver Airways or any other prop equivalent. Just very unique setup. And overall, it was a bunch of fun. So I really enjoyed getting to cruise around Australia, see some of those different land features, and again, the pop-up thunderstorms, just really quite a vibe. And Jetstream 32 is a very unique aircraft. Got a really interesting panel on the cockpit, and also the windows are huge, so some really unique elements and plenty for upcoming trip reports. The exhaust in the engine is also huge. And then it nevertheless took us into Cabrina, which was a really cool flight. That's actually the capital of Australia, if you didn't know. And it was really cool to get to check out their airport. It's a very unique setup. It's really cool. So it was great to get to check it out. And overall, it was fantastic. And it was really cool to get to finish this up with a Saab 340. I have flown one before, but anytime you get a Saab 340, you do not pass it up. And that's exactly what we have with Lynx, which is going to be operating for Virgin Australia once again with service to Sydney to finish up the day trip. And it was just so cool to think about, you know, getting to see this flight, but all of you know how much I like airline operations. I was kind of surprised to see that it was going to be myself and two other people on this flight. So I was like, yes, I found a forfeit that's not in the United States. And what a forfeit is in this case is a flight where there's only a few people on board to essentially reposition the aircraft. But fortunately, this worked out in my favor, as the flight attendant had been in the aviation industry for over 30 years. So we talked the entire time about Australia aviation. He then revealed to me that this is a contracted route, which is like, these are some of the biggest cities in Australia. How's this a contract? But Lynx flies is like 9 times a day. The inbound came in full and they overcharged for it. So obviously it mitigates the results of this return flight. But it's just so cool to see all of that at once and just get to talk about Australia aviation and see the similarities and differences to what I'm accustomed to. But really, this is when, you know, all these thoughts just started coming to my head. Like, aviation's incredible. I mean, it's all around the world. Like, I literally just came in, my head's completely confused. I don't even know what I'm doing, but I'm still talking about what I love at the same time, and just running into these coincidences with the flight attendant. Yeah, I mean, he flew a United Saab 340 or EMB 120. It was one of these props from Denver to Eagleville in 1994. He told me, he was like, man, I wasn't even alive when that happened. So the legacy lives on, and this, you know, all these cool aircraft types are somewhere in the world, and that's exactly what we had during this day trip. It was a really great time. I wish I had more time to talk about in this video, but I know that all of you want to continue to hear about it as we move forward. Which takes us on to the next day. Australia is awesome. It's probably my favorite place that I got to check out during this trip. I really like it. It would be where I would probably choose to live if it wasn't the United States. Very laid back, very safe, and overall just outstanding for aviation. Every element that I would want. Great time. Definitely check out Australia if you get the chance. But what would be better off than not just continuing? You know, we could have went back east, could have went back home to Tulsa. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to take our talents onto Qantas on their Airbus A380, another A380. We love to see it, as we're going to be flying today from none other than the Sydney, Australia International Airport to, you guessed it, Singapore, which is really cool to get the ad in here. Singapore is a very unique place. It's just a little bit of a different vibe. It kind of has multiple cultures tied into it. So I was like, this would be a cool place to visit. And that's exactly what we did. So Qantas A380, really great flight. They really exceeded my expectations. They did a very good job. The meal was fantastic and the whole flight was really good. I think I was in seat 69K or one of those downstairs, but just great views, and the sun just continues to stay out, which is a common theme of all these flights. Like, the sun's never going away. The sun's always staying out. So that was really cool, but just a great vibe just to see all of, you know, what Australia looked like from the flatlands. Not only was it a flight from essentially New York to Los Angeles, but on top of that, it was essentially New York to Honolulu, pretty much, about that. A little, well, way shorter actually, but you know, kind of comparison wise, because then you'd go over some more water. So overall, it was a great flight. More pop-up thunderstorms. All these products were really great that I tried on this trip. They were amazing, no doubt. With the Sydney economy class, they did a really good job. The IFE was a little wore out and old, but the actual seat and the service definitely made up for it. Overall, just a really great flight. Very much enjoyed it. The double landing made the video clip not very good, but that's okay. There's going to be a few little pieces of it, but what I'll talk about at the end, with aviation just being incredible and so successful and so reliable. I mean, the biggest delay I had on this flight, or sorry, on this trip, was my flight home today, and that was like 30 minutes, and we still arrived just 3 minutes late. So that just shows you how awesome aviation is, and we'll talk about it. But nevertheless, Singapore, very unique place. You just start seeing all these different language signs and all of this beautiful nature and grass and trees and, you know, all these pieces. Like, this is so cool to see in the airport, and how awesome that the infrastructure is there, and just so cool. And then all these transit signs and just all these pieces of the puzzle, which is so cool. But got a hotel at the airport, and just all these planes start showing up. The sun rises, and if you don't know, Singapore is not the sunniest place in the world, and the forecast was going to be 91% cloud cover. But here we go, the sun's back here, and it's just hanging out, and the clouds aren't here, and they're not showing up. So the spotting starts, and it continues, and the sun's out, and we see Singapore wide bodies, AirAsia narrow bodies, every special delivery in the book, just all these really cool planes. I'm just thinking here, I'm like, universe, I don't know what I've done to be, you know, get all, you know, what wasn't forecasted, right, with the good weather, and just have so many amazing experiences, but I can't thank you enough. So the spotting lasted all morning. It was amazing, really great time. Got to see so many cool planes. And then the Singapore has multiple model stores. I want to check out Sydney's, but unfortunately ran out of time. But there was a Singapore model store that just had 50% off major markdowns on their models. There were so many. It was just this little unit. You can Google it to find it. Just this little unit, and it just had so many models in it. So I got in there and just started looking around. I kept doing circles around this, you know, one piece. And I was like, man, this is so cool with all these models. What do I want to get here? And the prices were just so good. I was doing the conversion in my head. That's another big part of going to all these different places, is the currency conversion. But I was like, man, this is so cool. So I start thinking in my head, like, is this price good and all that? And I ended up getting a bunch of great models. I'll put a picture here. Anyway, it was like $200 US. It was such a great deal. I think I saved over 50%. Just incredible time. They didn't take credit card. Fortunately, I had PayPal, but that's another interesting part, and I'll talk about some just really interesting observations at the end. But they didn't take credit cards, so fortunately lucked out. But Singapore was awesome. One full day there. It was really great, and overall it was a wonderful time. That didn't take us on to the next day, as we have a little day. It's a hybrid, right? So it's transitioning to our next place, but it's also flying around essentially for fun. So that's exactly what we have. So our first flight's going to be on the Malaysia 737-800, as we're going to be going to Kuala Lumpur on our first stop. Got a really great business class redemption, American Airlines miles, so made that happen. Really great time in first class. It was an awesome flight, very short, but the food was really good, and overall just had a really great time. So very nice transit there as we continue the cruise. Great views, by the way. This is kind of, they're right next to the equator, so it's kind of warm year round, which is cool. But anyway, made it to Kuala Lumpur. Great lounge there and views, and cool to see all the different aircraft that flew in there. A bunch of AirAsia along with the Malaysia Airlines aircraft, which then took us on to our next flight on the Sri Lankan Airbus A320, as we're going to be going to Colombo, Sri Lanka. So that was a really fun flight. Overall, had a very good time on that one as well. I think that they did a really good job. It was a really dated cabin, but the service certainly made up for it. The food was phenomenal, but it did have IV and all that, so it was a really great flight, very peaceful. During all these flights, I did a bunch of, I could show you the list, but I have just a bunch of editing pictures and getting videos prepared, so on and so forth. So just mainly a bunch of content work, which was really nice change from the homework that I've been doing lately. But yeah, overall, just a really fun flight, and it was just a great time as we made our flight and landed into Colombo, which was a very unique place, obviously not as developed as a country, so seeing just how the airport functioned and whatnot was very interesting. So watched all that. It was very interesting. The lounge was cool there as well, and then the sun set, and our A330-300 first relock and landed in from none other than Tokyo. And this is going to be taking us on to Dubai, which is a very cool route that they have. So it was really cool to get to check this out. The seat and product was a little bit newer, still a little dated, but overall very good. And at this point, we're going back another 4 hours, so I am a little wiped out mentally. So I ended up sleeping this flight, which I did not want to do. I was bummed out about that because I really wanted to enjoy it a little bit more, but I was just wiped out. And then, you know, this is essentially halfway in the trip. Colombo was halfway. So when you continue to just keep going, you know, you can only do so much mentally to keep up. So I just really needed the rest there, and that's exactly what I did. But overall, it was a great time. This is the first time ever that I dozed back off during finals, so I woke up right as we touched down. That is extremely embarrassing to say, but that is the truth. So that just shows you how much I needed to sleep there, but still just a fantastic time, and arrived into Dubai. What a unique place, obviously, with, you know, their local language and what they do there that's different. It was so cool. Got to go up to a really cool hotel rooftop to go plane spotting. Overall, just a fantastic time. It is super cool. Just be very aware of your surroundings and what you're doing, obviously, in the aviation landscape, and then you'll be good. But just overall, a great time at Dubai. It's a really cool place. It is very concentrated, the Emirates, but there are some cool pieces that give some good variety throughout. So overall, just a really fun time, and very much enjoyed it. It was super fun, which then took us on to our next flight on the Emirates A380. Just absolutely fantastic. You love to see it, as we're going to be making our trip heading over to it's going to be Casablanca, Morocco, to add the continent of Africa, which I was super happy about. Got to get Asia, obviously got Australia, now we get to get Africa. So really fun time. The Emirates A380 is pristine. It's probably the best A380 you can fly out there, and we got a really good price on this one, so I was extremely happy about it, to transit us over to the great continent of Africa. Really great engine view, and it was just a great time. The IFE was super good, and just overall a really good time. It was really great. The food was really good. The cameras on the aircraft, all of that were just fantastic. And overall, really great time. Great power up, and just cruised for a while. Worked on a bunch of content that was super fun. And no doubt, just what a vibe, getting to see all the really cool land features. Got to see the pyramids in Egypt. That was super cool. And then obviously the different bodies of water and whatnot. It was also really cool to just observe people and what they did, which is, you know, not trying to stalk them obviously, but just looking at, you know, the different people and what they did was certainly very fascinating on this experience too. So taking that all in was super unique, to say the least. I also apologize if it seems like we're going really fast. I'm really not trying to, but I want to make this one full video so I don't have to break it up, and obviously keep the efficiency going. But anyway, here we go for a really interesting story. This one's going to take a few moments to explain. We arrived into Morocco, Casablanca, and this was quite the story right here. So, you know, in the US and other places, I didn't really think about this when booking it, but, you know, normally you can leave security, do whatever you want. It's all going to be fine and good. Okay, so this is a self-transfer international flight. Our next flight's going to be on a TAP A319 to Lisbon, and we have 4 hours. So in theory, this is going to be perfectly fine. So I get off the aircraft and, you know, go inside the airport. It's like, okay, this is all great. We're going to clear passport control. It's going to be fine. So my first thought was to leave the leave the land side to go check in because it's in a different terminal. So I have to go to 2. I arrived in the 1 to make the flight on the TAP. Well, I get the passport control, and I show them, he's like, where's your hotel reservation? Where's your hotel reservation? I show them the flight that I'm taking on. It's like, not enough time. And I'm just, you know, just kind of doing a Chris Slimmer for fun imitation there, by the way. So anyway, I was like, what do you mean not enough time? The flight doesn't board for 2 hours. It's like, not enough time. Go upstairs. International flight transfer. I'm like, all right, fine. We'll go upstairs. So you actually can do an international flight transfer there, which is very interesting, from 2 different airlines, not on one itinerary. So yeah, I'm up there at the desk, and the story on this is all the Royal Air Morocco, which is their local airline, all their employees are there, but the third-party contractor for every other airline, Swissport, their employees not there, and they're working the flights. Obviously, it's very busy and congested down there, so it's understandable now that I'm thinking about it. But in the moment, it's like, you gotta have somebody at the desk, right? So anyway, I asked Roy Morocco, I was like, is Swissport going to show up soon? He's like, I'll give them a call. I'll give them a call. And it's like, okay. So it's like 2 o'clock, by the way. So they give him a call. He's like, he's coming. He'll be here. He'll be here. And I'm just imitating for fun, by the way. No problem with, you know, how they talk and how they operate. It's fun to observe, right? So it's like, okay, hopefully he shows up. And, you know, in a new location, less developed than the United States, per se, you know, when you ask 3 different employees, which is what I did, I asked 3 different ones. There was an Emirates and then 2 from Royal Morocco. So when you ask 3 different employees and they give you the same answer of somebody's on the way, but they never show up, is because I was like, do you have any time frames? Like maybe 10, 15 minutes. So like, okay, but they never showed up, and just time continues to progress. So I'm starting to get the thought of, are we going to make this international flight connection? And just keeps happening. And, you know, the Royal Moroccan employee's like 15 minutes. And it was like, dude, it's 3:30. You said 15 minutes at 2 o'clock. Is somebody going to show up? It's like, well, I guess we could go try with passport control again, but don't want to get into it with them. So the only hope at this point is either for this flight transfer to show up, or we're going to be staying the night here, which wasn't devastational. Would have been out on some money for sure. But, you know, this isn't the worst situation in the world if it's the worst part that happens on the trip. And at 4 o'clock, finally, the Swissport employee Unos shows up, and I'm like, man, we are going to get saved here, because obviously the nerves were really starting to get racking at that point. These boarding started in 15 minutes from then. But printed the boarding passes. We got upstairs. We cleared the international security to get onto our flight, and we made the flight, which was so cool. And it was just like, man, what a relief after thinking that we're probably going to be staying here in Morocco tonight for the employee to finally show up. And the Royal Morocco, he was like, I'm the supervisor. They will show up. They did. You know, it's just a little bit different there because their communication, the time frame isn't quite what it is to me, but they did show up. So I'm very appreciative that they did. Okay. TAP A319 to Lisbon. How about this? TAP A319 to Lisbon. Let me say that this was an experience. So after all of that, after nearly thinking that we're going to be staying in Morocco, I watched not one, but 2, I don't want to say bozos, but they were kind of bozos, got kicked off the flight when they were boarding. So one of them was complaining about overhead bin space. There was about this much room to put a big backpack. It was like a jam sport or whatever. He got kicked off. And then, I'm not even kidding, I wish I was joking, but somebody did not want to valet check their suitcase because it had cookies in it. Not even joking. This is the real deal, which I nearly fainted on that. That was absolutely hilarious. But 2 people get kicked off the flight, bless their hearts. I mean, the cookie deal is just really interesting. I was kind of joking when I call them bozo, by the way. If they value their cookies that much, all respect to them. But what the heck? Like, how do you watch 2 people get kicked off a flight? That was crazy. So all respect to them and their cookies, but unfortunately they didn't want to check them, so they had to leave. But nevertheless, they got them kicked off, which was crazy to watch. And then we took our TAP A319 to Lisbon. It was a very pleasant flight, little rinky-dink meal there in business class. It was a very easy bid upgrade. It was a really good price. It was like, I think, maybe 75 euros or so. I'm not exactly sure off the top of my head, but it was definitely worth it. Got out of Morocco. Did not think we were going to be leaving after just listening to them continue to tell us that they're on the way but not show up, but they did. So thank you to the supervisor there. We made it to Lisbon, and we are on the back half of this, but it's like great to be back in Europe. Great to get more cities here. Overall, just a bunch of fun. Okay, deplaned via air stairs and took it to sleep. Nice to get the sleep in there. And then Lisbon. So surprisingly cloudy, normally sunny during this time of the year. That was kind of the logic for adding it in. So, you know, you get a couple tricks. You know, if it's going to be sunny in Singapore, it's going to have to be cloudy somewhere else, right? So Lisbon was the answer. But not only was it cloudy, the wind and rain just started to pour on. So I didn't get to do too much crazy spotting, but that's all right. It happens to the best of us. This was a half day. So half of it was planned to be spotting, which it was as much as it could be. And then I got to the air side because the next part of this was a very nice, like $75 ticket to fly Azores Airlines to their islands to head up to a small town in Portugal called Porto, and we'll be connecting via PDL, which is fantastic. So our first flight's going to be on their Airbus A320neo. We flew the same one, actually. It was the Pure livery, as we're going to be flying to PDL from Lisbon, which was a really great time. Azores Airlines, very good. They have some really cool islands out there. I was very impressed by the little meal that they served, so that was really cool. Got the exit row on the first flight, so that was nice because it was actually supposed to be a 321neo, and that had the really cool, I think it's like a business class seat in it that I reserved, but unfortunately they downgauged the aircraft because it was not enough people on that day, but that's perfectly fine. Anyway, the flight was really good. The views were great. We arrived at PDL. Really cool to get the Azores there. It's obviously per Portugal. It's not a new country, but just cool to add the airports and whatnot. But yeah, really great place. Very neat setup. They have just mainly Azores, and I think TAP flies there too. A great time, got to record the NG release reaction there, all went smoothly and well. It was a fun time, very much enjoyed it. And then that would take us back to the pure livery as we take off for Porto, which was a great time. Got that little meal once again, edited a bunch of pictures, great flight there and a great landing, and really cool to see the courtesy in Europe. There was a bunch of people that clapped after 2 landings. It was that one and the Condor A321 we'll talk about in a minute. There was clapping after both those, which was pretty cool. Now the Azores one was very much deserved. It was a very windy approach and the guy just greased it, so it was very much worth clapping. It was really good. But anyway, we made it to Porto, which is a small town smaller town north of Lisbon. Got back in security, quick night to fly Ryanair to Madeira. How cool. After having the scenery and flight simulator 10 years ago, to think about flying here now just goes back to the concept of being surreal. But anyway, Ryanair, the one and only, got to check them out. Very unique to board through the air stairs and all that. And yeah, safety card built into the seat back and, you know, all the rest of Ryanair. Very unique, but what an experience that was. It was really, really different, but we got to check it out and it was very, very cool. The approach in the Madeira was beautiful. You're seeing it here in the clips, and the landing actually wasn't that bad. I mean, it was definitely, you know, not the smoothest, but it wasn't that bad, so that was cool. But anyway, great views as we arrived into Madeira. Great airport. The plane spot at the varieties, not the highest, but as for the photography opportunity, it is unmatched, excuse me. Great time in Madeira, really fun to get to spend half a day there. Really enjoyed it and got to see a bunch of really cool aircraft. So overall, a very productive pit stop, and that was certainly an absolutely fabulous time. But before I knew it, it was time to re-clear security and get to the back half of this because, you know, we got to make it back here. The internship starts soon. So that starts with this Condor A321neo with yellow stripes to Frankfurt. Really great flight. Overall, really enjoyed it. Condor did a good job. It was nice and on time, and overall, it was very smooth. There was no major differences. I did order a meal on this flight, so that was cool. So definitely cool to get to feature that, and overall it was a really great time. So yeah, I on and off dozed off a little bit just so I could try to stay up late to prepare to get to this moment now. So that's exactly what I did, and I did some pictures throughout. And yeah, the Frankfurt airport, as we know, it's just absolutely stunning. So really cool to get to see it, and overall just a bunch of fun. But a quick night there, not really quick, but night there, and then that took us on to the grand finale of this whole deal, the Lufthansa Boeing 747-400 to Toronto Pearson International. And just what an awesome time this is. I never thought that it would have been possible to fly a Boeing 747 in my lifetime. Definitely not when I was deathly ill with Epstein-Barr virus 3 years ago. But fortunately, I prevailed past that to get to this moment and all the other moments I mentioned in the video today. Just an insane amount of appreciation for all these flights, and that's exactly what I thought about during this whole 8-hour flight. Was while I was editing all this, I was like, man, this is just so incredible to think about how all this came together, and just an absolutely incredible time. Really, really great. And it was just so cool to get to sit upstairs, have the beautiful engines right there, and listen to the power up, you know, the amazing food service. But all of that was great. But just really thinking about how powerful aviation here in this moment was just so much fun. And I really enjoyed it. It was truly a fantastic time. So much went on, and it was just so great to see all the great views. It was somehow sunny in Frankfurt, which was crazy, and then passing over some really cool snow-covered land in Europe, which was so cool. But again, the light just stayed out, and the day just continued. It's like you live like 15 days in one on some of these flights. It's so cool. But anyway, the meals were great, like I said, and the service was just phenomenal. So just overall fantastic time. What a vibe. I transferred all the footage over so I'd have it here to look at and edit this video and whatnot. So all that was super fun. But just overall, really enjoyed the moment. It was so much fun and just a great flight. And it's just like aviation's so powerful. All these different aircraft types, who's flying what, who's doing what, all came together in this moment, and it was so cool to get to reflect on it all, and all the content coming up, we'll get to show that off here in the near future. But nevertheless, made it to Toronto, great time, and obviously we're on a little downhill of it at this point, so just really taking it all in and reflecting like we are in this video, but just overall a great time, which then took us on to the Air Canada E220 after a very fluid, easy connection to Chicago. Very fun. They had a little ground stop, so we were a little delayed, but didn't make it in too late. Still made it in very close to on time. Great flight. The Air Canada A220 product's really great. Excited to share that with you all. It was really awesome. Had a great seat on it. So that was a great time. And then it had the Chicago night, which was last night when I'm filming this. And it was just like, man, taking it all in. And the grand finale, we started this trip with the United E175, so what better way to end it than another E175? So that's exactly what we did from Chicago to Tulsa to finish this off, the last part of the 32,000-mile extravaganza. just an absolutely great time. Really cool to get to reflect all in this moment, make all the graphics for this video on it, and just get ready to go. So overall, just a great time. Got to see snow all the way through. That was covered on the ground and really fun to do all that. And then we landed on when he left at Tulsa, snow-covered Tulsa, which is not as common. So it's like, that's really cool. And pulled into the same gate that we left from B6, which was so cool. And I got to see the aircraft. Like, the only major difference is we had the old livery to start and the new livery to end. So it's like, it's a new era, really cool. And ladies and gentlemen, 32,000 miles, 70 flight hours. We had, what was the other statistic I wanted to mention? 23 flights, 1.6 times around the Earth's circumference, 13 airlines, 16 aircraft types, 21 airports, and 10 countries later. I have done it. I've went all the way around the world. And what I can say here to just really reflect upon this whole experience, and then just to really bring it to all of you, first and foremost, it's so cool to think about being able to go around the entire world as a citizen in the United States, right? You know, you wouldn't think of being able to go to all these places way back when, you know, airplanes didn't exist. But it's so cool to think that everybody's able to work together to the point where you can visit these other countries. So just an incredible freedom to be able to utilize, and I'm just feeling really fortunate. I hope everybody, no matter where they are in this world, at some point gets an opportunity to check out another country, or just somehow get to check out the entire world. It's just absolutely incredible. So huge shout out to everybody that makes this possible on that front. But then the aviation aspect of this is so super important to recognize too. It is so incredible, and just the capabilities of the industry is just fantastic, right? You know, thinking that the biggest problem I had during this was waiting for one employee in a lesser country relative to the US regarding communication is incredible to think that that was the biggest problem I had, right? The biggest problem that I had delay-wise was a flight coming in 30 minutes late. That's incredible to think about the reliability and how awesome aviation is and all these on-time flights. And it's not just the United States or anywhere like that. It's in Africa, it's in Europe, it's in the Middle East, it's in Australia, it's in Asia, it's in all these places, which is so cool. And I really wanted to add South America to this trip. Unfortunately, I ran out of time. I had to get back, so this was the option, but the Lufthansa 744 was worth it anyway. Regardless of the case, all that put to the side, it's around the world, and isn't that just so cool to think about? You know, it's not just one culture or one aviation industry or one component of it, whatever it is. Everybody can do it, and just seeing it all come together in the different classes of service along with the rest of it was just so cool, and I really enjoyed it. It was so much fun, and just a huge shout out to everybody in the aviation industry for making it a reality. It was just absolutely awesome. But I mean, you know, you just really start to think about it, right? When, you know, you're using universal power outlets, and you have different currencies on your credit card, and then obviously you're getting your passport stamped when you're going to all these places. It's incredible to think about how powerful aviation is. You absolutely could not have done a trip like this even 60 years ago. It probably wouldn't have been possible. But to think that we've, you know, the aviation industry as a whole has made it to the point where we have jet airliners to get between Hawaii and Australia within 10 hours, or anywhere really, or be able to fly all the way around the world within a 30-hour transit period is incredible. And it's truly a testament to human innovation and all the aspects that go with that. But on the aviation front, I think that's possible to do all this, to get all the countries to work together and align to where you can fly all the way around the world on different airlines with different standards and different products, and all of this is incredible. And it's just absolutely awesome to see this. That being said, I want to make it of the utmost importance that just because I got the opportunity to do this does not mean that any opportunity that you get as the viewer is not important. I had a memory come up during this trip of flying from Tulsa to Atlanta on Delta, and I was like, this is the biggest trip I've ever done. And that thrill and excitement, no matter what your situation is, make it as exciting as you can make it, right? You know, I still have the same thrill of flying the United 175 as I do the Emirates A380. I know that sounds ridiculous to say, but every opportunity is so important, and it's just so cool. I saw somebody on Instagram was like, I'm so excited, this is the biggest trip I've done. It was like Omaha to Phoenix. I was like, that is super cool. That is awesome. And you know, you cannot downplay any experience that you get to have in this world, right? Life is precious. It's a very fragile, delicate piece. And I want to recognize that, because if it wouldn't have been for my past experiences and the thrill of all of this in aviation, what would the point be of, you know, flying around these planes for fun around the world? It wouldn't have mattered, right? So I really want to leave you with these inspirational words of make every opportunity as big as you want it to be. There is no reason why you can't go out there and have fun doing whatever you do. Once again, the United 175 or flying from Tulsa to Dallas is still just as thrilling to me as an Emirates A380. Obviously, the magnitude and the anticipation, all that's definitely different, but I don't want to take away from how simple fun can be had on a really simple flight. And I really want to recognize that because, again, like I said, none of it would matter if none of that initial fun from aviation was ever had, right? That goes back to the model airport YouTube videos and all the plane spotting videos out there. And what inspired me to get into this, I'm from a small town in Oklahoma, right? So I didn't have the opportunity to go out there and fly planes every day and be on commercial airliners. But when I did and got to see got to get in the model aircraft collecting to make this a reality, it's special. So I apologize, but nevertheless, I can't not recognize this moment of, it's crazy to come this far from, collecting model aircraft and watching YouTubers online to now getting to share it with you is awesome. And that's exactly what we're going to do here for all the future to come. Just because I got this opportunity doesn't mean that I'm not excited for any of your opportunities on a Southwest 737 or a United 175. They're all just as important and just as thrilling and just as exciting as what an Emirates A380 would be. You got to have that. And I think it's super important to exhibit that and recognize it. And I absolutely 100% want to make that very clear to all of you that I'm just as excited for you as I am for myself or anybody else. So I want to leave you with this. It's so cool that I got to do this, and it's absolutely a once in a lifetime opportunity that I'll be super fortunate to get to share with you all in the future here on this channel. But what I can certainly say with confidence is that just because I got this opportunity doesn't mean that yours doesn't matter just as much as this one did, right? Whatever got you in the aviation is important. I hope that my channel has been a great influence on you in some capacity. Obviously, if you're watching to this point in the video, you have some sort of interest, which I greatly appreciate. And I wouldn't be here talking about it otherwise. I was 10,000 miles away from home, 10,000 miles away from home. And in the Singapore model store, he's like, excuse me, are you the guy from YouTube? That makes my day, man. That's exactly why I make these videos, right? 10,000 miles away from home. I grew up in a place with 8,000 people. And it's so cool to see that people recognize me from 10,000 miles away just from watching these videos and getting into this. It's cool. And you can definitely tell that how awesome it is. Passionate about it, man. Really passionate about what we do here. And we're going to continue to do just that. It's awesome what we've done so far, but we're not done. We're just getting started, right? We did the rebrand. We're a new channel here, CM Aviation. And the best is yet to come. We have so much content to share here. I got like over 300 flights to share with all of you, and I'm so excited to get to share those all and show you all what those are about. It's going to be awesome to continue to share what we do here. But not just that, we got the model airplanes too, and just so much to look forward to here on my channel. And I hope each and every one of you are excited for it. I'm really, really stoked about the future here. And, just getting recognized from 10,000 miles away just because of just sharing what I enjoy is just so cool. And there's so much to look forward to here on my channel. We're going to continue to do it every single day. And there's so much here that I'm really excited to continue to bring to you all. And obviously my life's going to be changing big time. You all have probably seen the new setup here, first video I'm recording here, and more to come on that in upcoming videos. But it's a really exciting time, and I'm very fortunate to have this place here in the aviation community on YouTube. It's the least I could do, since people like Gemini Just 13 and Lonely Warrior 6 inspired me to make those videos when I was younger. And I'm so fortunate that I've been able to carry it all the way to now, and so excited that I'll be here until the end. I'm so excited to continue to make all these videos for you all, no matter what the capacity may be one day. And my goal is just to inspire all of you and give each and every one of you an opportunity for an escape to enjoy watching videos. That's special. And we're going to continue to have that. I'm going to continue to make all kinds of videos for you all to enjoy. Model aircraft, real life trip reports, whatever it is. There's going to be so much here for you all to enjoy. But never give up on yourself. It may be tough for all of you to watch this and you're like, why are you comparing a United 175 to an Emirates A380? That's a very reasonable comparison, or a very reasonable thought is like, why would you compare that? But the reason I am is because if I wouldn't have enjoyed that first Southwest 737, I wouldn't have been able to get to the point where I am today. And I think it's just important to downscale all this, on the big picture. It's like, every opportunity matters and it all goes together, right? It all works off each other, and you just got to take it one step at a time and be in love with the process and do what you love and love what you do. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. I'm so excited for the future. I hope all of you are as well. I'm so glad I got to make this video for you all today, and I'm really excited for what's to come here in the future. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. We'll have more on an analysis regarding what's coming up here in the future, but just continue to, be the difference. Go out there and make a difference today, and just continue to love aviation. Our industry is incredible. It got me all the way around the globe, and I hope all of you have an experience like this one day. There's so many fun flights out there, and I hope each and every one of you can take them, and I'll continue to do my best to help you all find them and continue to move forward as a community. But thank you all so much for watching. We always leave it off with the same way. Do what you love and love what you do. Trust the process, and just continue to stay safe and just continue to move forward. So thank you all so much for watching. I really hope all of you enjoyed this. What a fun video to make today. I'm super fortunate. I hope all of you enjoy my channel. I'm so excited to make so much content for you all here in the future. I'm going to go run home and record some model videos because I know all of you would love to see that, and I'm going to continue to move forward. Thank you all so much for watching. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much for supporting me, and the least I can do is continue to produce these videos for you all. Take care. See you all soon, and have a fantastic rest of your day.